14-year-old Luke Degerness vanished without a trace on June 7, 2007. He has never been seen or heard from since. Luke's date of birth was June 29, 1993. His height at the time he went missing was 5'8". His weight was 146 pounds. His hair color was brown and cut short. His eye color was brown. Distinguishing marks or features are a dime-sized bald spot on the front of his head, and he had a piercing above his right eye. He also had a brown mark on the left side of his back. At the time of his disappearance, he was wearing a red baseball cap, a black t-shirt, white running shoes, and he also may have had a large camouflage backpack. It was spring in 2007. Luke was a 13-year-old boy trying to find purpose and where he could fit in. The city he was from was Edmonton, Alberta. His childhood was a happy one, and he was close to his family, but due to certain circumstances such as moving, switching schools, and friendships, he was looking for acceptance and a place of belonging. Gina, his mother, said that he was finally finding friends in Edmonton, and that his group would hang out together at the Edmonton Millwood Centre Mall almost every day. At the time, that area of Edmonton had picked up a dark nickname known as Murder Woods because of the skyrocketing crime rate. Gina recalls that one day he suddenly refused to go to the mall and would not talk about it. It was strange, so after a few days without explanation, when Luke was in the shower, Gina checked her son's social media. Luke had been in touch with one of his friends and asked him this ominous question: "Hey, ask your brother for me. How do you join the Bloods?" The Bloods were a local street gang, and Gina, acting, booked a flight for Luke out of Edmonton to Prince George. She did this before Luke was even out of the shower. Gina says that at the time things were tough, and she had given birth to his younger sister Jade, and all attention was on the baby. Gina had a sister that lived in Prince George, and she called her up and asked if Luke could come stay with her. She believed that Prince George would be a safer environment for her family. When he arrived in Prince George, he enrolled in the senior secondary school. He found it difficult because his old friends had grown older and really didn't have a spot for him in their group anymore. It had been 4 years since he had last seen them, and for a 14-year-old, that's a long time. Lucas struggled with stability and connections once again. His mom was trying to create a stable environment for her son, but found it daunting with a new baby. During this time, Luke started smoking pot and skipping school. As a result, he was failing one of his classes. Gina was very concerned, so she set up an appointment at the school to discuss her son's predicament and try to find a solution. That morning, Gina recalls it being rainy and foggy, and she found a babysitter for Jade and asked her father for a ride to the school for Luke and herself. Before the meeting, Lucas took his mother aside and told her that he had something very important that he wanted to talk to her about, and that it was pressing very heavily on his mind. However, Gina's mind was preoccupied with the meeting and getting back to the baby. Gina asked that he wait until after the meeting before they discuss his problem. Lucas then asked her if they could walk and talk about it, but the school was 20 minutes away and Gina couldn't due to the fact that she had to return to the baby right away. At the meeting, it was settled that he was going to have to attend summer school, something he did not want to do, and he protested, but Gina insisted. Meanwhile, Luke was told to head on back to class while mom and principal worked out the summer school schedule. After the meeting ended, Gina and the vice principal went back to check on Lucas. When they arrived at his classroom, he was not there. He had never shown up to class at all. Gina and the vice principal walked around the school and found nothing. Luke didn't have a mobile phone, so there was no way of contacting him. Gina checked the mall across the street, the Pine Center Mall. It was right across the street from the school. By this time, Gina had to get back to her baby. She began to show concern when Lucas failed to contact her the next day. No phone call, no email. So she immediately called the RCMP. They took it very seriously and started an intense search. The first tip came in and said Luke was at a local drug house. Gina and the RCMP went to check, but it ended up being another young man named Luke that was a runaway. Over the next days, there was no other leads as to the whereabouts of Luke. As the months went by, Gina found out that Lucas had gone from the school over to his best friend's house. The friend was questioned by police, but never said anything about seeing Luke after he went missing. But when Gina talked to the boy's mother, she admitted to having seen Lucas there during the search. She ended up asking Lucas to leave. Gina found these people extremely shady. Gina also found out 2 years later that Lucas had been staying in an alley on an old couch for a few nights. This was frustrating for her to find out because this was never reported to the police. Apparently, a victim service worker relayed this information to her. She said that her daughter saw him there, and that coincidentally, this counselor lived next door to Lucas's best friend. Gina believes that he felt somewhat safe in that area for the few days that he was there. Also, when Luke arrived at his friend's house on the first day that he was considered missing, he had somehow obtained frozen hamburgers and buns. He asked if he could cook and eat them there. So how did he get these? Where did he buy them? Unfortunately, by the time this information came out, the stores would have deleted their camera footage. There have been many false identifications or sightings to confuse or muddy the waters during the search for Lucas. Gina has started a Facebook page for Lucas titled, "Lucas Degerness is Still Missing." A few weeks after Lucas vanished, Gina was checking Luke's Facebook page and found a shocking and chilling post from 2 young women from Edmonton. The post goes as follows: "R.I.P. Luke. That's what you get for effing around with us." Gina said that the RCMP contacted the person who posted it and dismissed it as a prank. She, however, is hoping to talk to these girls one day and is wishing that they will be mature enough to contact her and explain why they did this. Gina and the police have said that all paper trails involving Lucas are cold. His social insurance number and bank accounts, there is nothing happening in his name. Then, in 2014, Gina received a phone call from Missing Kids Hotline. They asked her many questions about Luke and herself. They told her that a young man calling himself Luke Degerness contacted them and wanted the phone number and more information about his mother. Whether this is a legit call or not has Gina curious but doubtful. The young man promised to call again, but so far he never has. Gina believes that it was someone trying to ease her pain. June 7th is a day that Gina dreads. She is currently a youth worker in Edmonton. June 7th, the day he went missing, and his birthdays are the worst, she says. If you are watching this video and have any information as to the whereabouts of Lucas James Degerness, please find it in your heart to finally release this information to the RCMP. Please call 1-866-543-8477. or call 1-800-222-8477. That's Crime Stoppers, and you can leave an anonymous tip.